Welcome to ONS Energy Talks. My name is Mario Mehren. I'm the Program Director of the ONS Foundation. Many companies have experienced great challenges, but also seen new opportunities in these times of Corona. Today, we will talk about how we are leading a newly merged company through this crisis. We are very grateful that we have with us the Chairman of the Board and CEO of Wintershall Dea, Mr. Mario Mehren. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Ingvild. It's a great pleasure actually to join this new format. And before we start, let me say how much I regret actually that we are not possible to meet and gather at ONS 2020. It would have been the first ONS for the newly merged Wintershall Dea. We were very excited about it, but of course we understand the reasoning. So we are very, very much looking forward to meet all of you in 2022 for the upcoming ONS.
Thank you for that. I'm sure we will meet again, and hopefully it will be before 2020 in person. But when it comes to the questions, we have to start by a bit soft. You're based in Germany. Can you comment on how is the situation when it comes to Corona in Germany right now, and how are your people doing?
Well, overall in Germany, the situation is progressing quite well. We have below 1,000 newly infected people per day, which is good. So the situation is stabilized. We are lifting the first restrictions in terms of restaurants opening, schools opening, and these kind of things. So the situation is progressing, is good. However, it is a fragile situation. We have recently seen new infections, hotspots where people didn't play according to the rules. So it remains a fragile situation, and we are far from beyond this crisis and having left the virus behind. We as a team are most of the time working from home. That turned out to be extremely efficient and effective. So all in all, I would say in Germany, the restrictions have not been that severe than in other countries where we are active in. We were able to leave the house. We were able to do some sports, to go for a run. So all in all, people are doing well. Nevertheless, everybody is missing what I would call a normal life, or the life we were used to before this crisis.
I'm glad to hear that you're all getting back to at least a sense of normality. But let's jump to the business. Wintershall Dea, how have you been dealing with what we've seen as a double black swan over the last months with the pandemic, but also with the extremely volatile oil and gas prices that we've seen?
Yeah, well, it basically was or is a very challenging situation for everybody. I mean, we have set three priorities from the very beginning. The first is protecting our people. The second is securing business continuity. And the third is safeguarding our balance sheet and liquidity. And this is where we have been acting. So very early in March, we decided to have all administrative staff already working from home. That worked out very, very nicely, I have to say. We reduced the manning level of our operations to the absolute minimum required. We implemented rules with regard to physical distancing, with regard to wearing masks, hygiene, and the like. Crisis team on a daily basis meeting to assess the situation. So all this was implemented in order to protect the health of our people, and it worked out nicely so far. We have had a relatively limited impact of COVID-19 on our people. Business continuity, we were able to continue with production on, I would say, a normal basis, normal level. So this is also dealing well. And then, of course, we have taken measures in order to protect really the company, the balance sheet, the liquidity. At the same time, I have to say, I think we entered this crisis in a very relatively comfortable position because we have a low-cost portfolio, we have stable cash flows from midstream, we have a healthy balance sheet. So all in all, I think we were well prepared. And the merger, of course, contributed to that because with the merger, we became an even stronger company, but also an even more efficient company, given the synergies that we could capture.
And building on the merger, because we're going to talk about how it's to lead a newly merged company, but because over the last years you've taken two large companies, Wintershall and Dea, and you kind of tried to build them into one solid company. What has been your biggest personal learnings on the way to where you are today?
Well, first of all, let me say that it is simply a great experience to bring together two fantastic companies like Wintershall and Dea with 245 years of joint experience. You do not find this very often in the world. To me, it's simply exciting to see what can be done. I mean, we just celebrated our first birthday, and if I look back, we have completely restructured the company. We have set up new processes. We have built a new leadership team. We have established a new portfolio. We have fine-tuned our portfolio, divesting certain activities, adding other activities. So I would say that the most exciting aspect in that merger for me was to see really what's possible if everybody starts with a very positive mood and if you really want to create something.
Is there any learnings that you want to add when it comes to learnings from this Corona situation? I mean, you put a lot of extra stress on your employees, and how has your employees managed to deliver results in this period, even if they were been working from home?
Yeah, I have to give a very big compliment to the entire Wintershall Dea team. It's amazing really to see how operations were kept stable, how production was kept stable, how development projects continue, but also how all the administrative processes are working. I think we came into the crisis with the benefit of having two things: a very good technological platform for all virtual meetings, discussions, and the like. That was extremely helpful, of course, in this crisis situation. And on the other hand, we have established already long before the crisis a number of virtual communication efforts, virtual communication channels that we can build on now. So that was a very solid foundation. However, Ingvild, I have to say, I'm really proud and surprised how well actually Wintershall Dea is functioning in this crisis in a complete working from home mode. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that we'll take out of this crisis into whatever the new normal is going to be in order to benefit from that. Because it has a lot of advantages if you have more flexibility, less bureaucracy. We learned a lot to be flexible and agile these days.
I think this situation has learned us that when we meet a challenge, we're open to solve it, and this just proves that we were able to do it. But going back to your results, in the end of May, you kind of announced and published your first quarter numbers and results. Are you satisfied with the results?
Well, of course, in the first quarter, we have already seen that the challenges for the oil and gas business. I mean, we came into the year with a relatively low gas price. Then we saw the drop in oil prices, together with a drop in demand. Considering all this, I'm satisfied with our results because we have delivered in terms of production. We produced 626,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day, which is more or less the figure we produced in last year's quarter. So that's good. Our production costs are at $4.30 per barrel, which is also, I would say, a unique position in our industry. We have a solid cash flow. The stable midstream business has contributed. So I have to say, again, I'm proud about what the team has achieved. At the same time, I have to say, I don't think that Q1 was the worst we have seen this year. I mean, if we look into April, we have seen an average oil price of $18 per barrel Brent. So I think it is still important that we remain very focused and that we are tackling all the challenges.
Yeah, you know, oil and gas is for sure a cyclical business. And just as we thought we were on the way up again, we had a hard hit. But I mean, and one of the first things that's happening when this happens is that you start reducing your capex and exploration costs, and this has also been the case for Wintershall Dea when it comes to 2020. What kind of results and consequences will this have for the business in the projects in Norway?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we need to protect our liquidity as a company and our balance sheet. So we also said we reduce capex by 30%, exploration expenditures by 20%, and OPEX by another 10%. At the same time, in particular, when it comes to Norway, the activity level remains extremely high. I mean, our three major development projects, Nova and Dvalin, own operated, Njord operated by Equinor, are progressing well. In addition, we continue to be active in exploration. We just in March had the wonderful Bergknapp discovery, and there's a number of wells yet to come in terms of exploration activities further down the road this year. So, of course, we are revisiting everything. We are looking into any FID that has to be taken. We are using any opportunity to renegotiate or retender contracts. But all in all, I see that the activity level in Norway is strong because we are basically at the end of a major investment cycle here. So it doesn't make too much sense to start thinking about a stop of projects that are like Dvalin in the midst of production drilling.
And a large portion of your portfolio is in Norway, as you know, and Norway has been quite hard hit due to the oil prices, but also, and there's been a lot of discussion on what the government has been doing on when it comes to measures. And of course, different nations and different governments have chosen different strategies to meet this. How do you see Wintershall Dea Norway dealing with the situation right now, but also on a kind of medium-term length?
Well, first of all, big compliment to the team in Norway of Wintershall Dea. I think they have done a fantastic job again to keep production up and running, to continue with our development projects. I think this is a major achievement and extremely important to the entire Wintershall Dea organization. When it comes to impacts in Norway from resulting from this crisis, I mean, we have seen that Norway also committed to some production cuts. We have an impact also as Wintershall Dea, but in comparison to the roughly 100,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day we are producing, it's a minor impact. So that is not going to hit us very hard. There are other things where the government is trying to support the oil and gas business. There are tax measures discussed that have been discussed in the government and are now discussed with the parliament. This is, of course, positive if the Norwegian state is supporting the oil and gas business, which has been a backbone for the Norwegian state funding and the Norwegian state budget. I hope, of course, that whatever comes in terms of support, in particular financial and liquidity support, is something that kicks in already in 2020 and not only in 2021, because it's now when we have to take our decisions forward-looking in terms of investment, in terms of development projects, in terms of exploration.
And I know that you are very dedicated and you are very willing to invest in Norway, but could you be concrete on kind of what are Wintershall Dea's Norway's exploration plans for 2020 on NCS?
Yeah, absolutely. As you rightly said, Norway, the NCS is basically the main spender in terms of exploration for Wintershall Dea. We have already been part of 3 wells this year. Balderbra, which was an appraisal well. I talked about the Bergknapp discovery, and we are also partner in Iving, which has been a discovery. And then we have a number of wells lined up, like Bask, like Polmark, like Lomre, Cedar. So a number of wells that are coming more towards the end of the year. So we have a nice, I would say, daisy chain of exploration project. And in addition, I'm proud that we have been awarded in the latest APA round again 9 licenses. 3 of them as operators. So I think this shows our commitment not only to Norway as a country, but also to exploration on the NCS.
Building on exploration, but going more into the broader global portfolio, do you see a different exploration picture if you look at the global scale?
Well, we are very focused in terms of exploration. So currently we are basically spending our exploration money in Norway, in Mexico, where we also had 2 very nice discoveries in the Gulf of Mexico, and then in Brazil, which is very early stage. So we remain focus there. We think we can add value via exploration. Nevertheless, as always in our industry, when the downturn kicks in, exploration also needs to justify that it's value adding. So we are looking even sharper on a global scale, which exploration projects we would like to pursue and which we would like to skip. But as I said, and as you can see from the number of wells that I just mentioned, in terms of Norway, we are still very active and there's a lot to be done. Mm.
After exploration hopefully comes discovery, and then comes the projects. And you have Nova and Dvalin as your two own operated projects in the development phase. What is their current status, and what has been the last kind of milestones in the projects?
Yeah, it's fantastic how these projects have been progressing despite the challenges that we have seen. If we look into Dvalin, we have managed to get the production module on Equinor's Hydrogen platform. So this was a fantastic milestone for us this year. We have started production drilling, which is really progressing very smoothly, very well. So everything on track with regard to the Dvalin project. Nova the same. We have seen some spectacular pictures when the module was put onto the Ura platform, the module that we need for Nova. A lot of the subsea work has been done, so also this project is well on track. Again, a big compliments to the teams there. We are on track, we are within our budgets, and most importantly, we have no whatsoever HSEQ incidents seen.
I know there's a lot of people out there, especially in the supply industry, that is curious about your future plans. Could you comment on that?
Well, we continue to invest, and I think our partners in the supply industry are aware of that. Of course, we have now been into a really major peak in terms of our investments in Norway. I don't think it's the norm that we have three major projects like Dvalin, Nova, and the Njord project operated by Equinor running in parallel. But we continue to do so. I mean, we are working on the Maria project. We are preparing a number of Vega infill wells. We are very happy with the Balder discovery. So I think all in all, I'm not saying that the service industry should be relaxed, but at least Wintershall Dea is continuing to be an investor on the NCS, and we want to continue our success story in Norway, definitely.
I know that there's a lot of people who are very glad to hear that message. Moving over to the portfolio, I mean, Wintershall Dea is a pure oil and gas company, and there's a lot of talk about the energy transition and the importance of doing diversification of portfolio. But Wintershall Dea, you have three main pillars: gas, oil, and midstream. Do you think that is your recipe for the current situation, but also on a longer term?
Absolutely. I mean, we feel very comfortable with the portfolio we have. We are a gas and oil company. We have 70% gas, and I think gas is one of the key drivers in the energy transition if we want to be successful and if we want it to be affordable at the same time. So that makes me feel very comfortable. The midstream business is a very good business, adding stability to our cash flow. So I think this is also a good positioning. Nevertheless, we are, of course, also forward-looking in terms of other technologies like hydrogen, like CCS, but always limited to those technologies where we think as a gas and oil company we can really benefit from the capabilities and from the experiences we are having. So I think Wintershall, with the low-cost portfolio, with the high reserve ratio, is extremely well positioned to master this crisis and to get out of it even stronger for the future.
The topic of the day was how to lead a newly merged company through a crisis. What would be your advice? I mean, this is a situation where probably there would be a lot of restructuring coming up. What is your advice to leaders, to people working in businesses that will go into mergers coming up?
Yeah, you mentioned in particular the restructuring exercise, and they're not my advice, but the experience I can share is that transparency is the best thing you can do. I mean, people are intelligent. The people that are working for Wintershall Dea, they understand what's going to happen. They understand that you have a downsizing process if you are merging, and you just need to address it openly and honestly. And I think our values, like caring for people, like building on trust, but also being brave and open-minded, that has helped us and the team to be guided through this. So I can really say that it's a very positive experience if from the very beginning you are very open and transparent with regard to the process that is coming. And it's of course important to very early build a new team. Forget about the legacy one or the legacy others. It's really about the new team. It's about the future, not about the past.
Thank you, Mr. Mehren. It was great to listen to your advice and also the story about how you've done it in Wintershall and your plans for the future. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And thank you very much also to the listeners of the ONS Energy Talks. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.